to the Unleash Greatness podcast with your host, Jonathan Mitchell. The best in personal, emotional, spiritual, and business development.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Today is story time. So I'm going to get some stuff. I usually get stories from both my friends, and then I find some interesting articles online and just kind of share some things with them, which is going to be great. And once again, as always, wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for listening in to Unleash Greatness, your place for personal development, business development, emotional health. We're all about 4 subjects: health, wealth, relationships, and self-expression. So today's going to be more along the lines around probably self-expression, but just some interesting stories that I found that I have found inspiring, that have helped me kind of get through some hard times myself. And just wanted to make sure you guys knew some pretty famous people that had some struggles as well. So as always, this is sponsored by naturalmedicinemoms.com for alternative medicine. Check it out. Got some links down below. So excited to have you guys with me today. And let's get going, please. Here we go. All right. So I've scoured the internet, find about a bunch of different articles I could read to you, but I wanted to start off with one from a guy named Jason Demers, was writing for entrepreneur.com about some famous failures, or I should say 6 stories of super successes who overcame failures, what the article's called. Love this one because I didn't actually know a couple of these things, but I just wanted to make sure I read a couple things to you. So, Arianna Huffington got rejected by 36 publishers. So if you know anything about, anything about Arianna Huffington, obviously she created the Huffington Post empire. She was rejected 36 times, which is crazy because Huffington Post is one of those, massive organizations now. It didn't happen overnight, obviously. It even says in this article there's tons of negative reviews about its quality and potential. But it's now one of the most successful outlets of news and other categories in that area of life out there. It's awesome. So it's just cool to see that's one of them. Second one is Bill Gates. Of course, everyone. I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but Bill Gates, I think is like either the number 1 or number 2 most wealthiest individual on the planet, and he. Kind of crazy to read his background. So he, entrepreneur, obviously. I didn't know this one, actually. He started a company called Traf-O Data, which aimed to process and analyze data from traffic tapes, like a big data, something like that. Tried to sell it, did not go anywhere, and then he eventually created Microsoft and eventually worked out his way out of a garage and became the massive, massive success it is now, which is just awesome. Way, way cool. Next one is George Steinbrenner. So he, obviously he bought out the Yankees. And I didn't know this one either. He owned a small basketball team called the Cleveland Pipers. I didn't even know Cleveland was called the Pipers back in the 60s. And it went bankrupt, which is crazy because he's such a good manager of stuff now. And the funny thing is, it's probably from this experience that made him really good with finances with the Yankees, because he's made the Yankees from, not that the Yankees weren't ever not okay, but they were struggling back in the 70s when he took over, and they've become a brand that is worldwide recognized and have, like you said, the Yankees have won a World Series over and over again, and they have 6 between, I think when I was younger, back in the 90s, they had 6 or 7 World Series wins or entries at least. Crazy. I think they hold the record for World Series appearances, which doesn't surprise me, but a lot of them were under his direction, which is awesome. Next up, I don't know if people know this, I used to actually be a character over in Walt Disney World down in Florida. So this one's kind of close to my heart because I love Disney. One of the most creative geniuses in the 20th century once fired from a newspaper because he was told he lacked creativity. And that was the one and only Walt Disney. He formed his first animation company, which is called Laugh-O-Gram Films. Raised $15,000 for the company, but eventually was forced to close it following a close of another distribution partner. And he went out to Hollywood trying to do different cartoons and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know this, but the old black and white Mickey Mouse cartoon was rejected several times as well, and then finally caught on. And Disney now, if you don't know, owns half of everything. So they bought out Star Wars, they bought out Marvel, they have all the Disney products. I mean, Disney is this massive organization, and he started back, just in the 1940s, 50s. I mean, it's crazy to see how in 50 years it's become a worldwide dominant force in the business and entertainment world. Awesome. Love it. Steve Jobs. So this is another one. I've talked about Apple many times. So Steve, I've read a lot of things about Steve and his personality and why he was fired. But if you don't know this or not, so he started Apple, found success with Apple. It started to grow a lot, and then when he was 30, and I didn't know how old he was, which is interesting too. He was fired by the board of directors from Apple, and as you well know, from that point, it kind of just kind of stopped and didn't go too well, kind of hovered and stagnated. It says here that Jobs founded a new company called Next, which was actually acquired by Apple, funny enough. And then once he got back into Apple, he went back into the company. He was the one who started to make the image of Apple become what it is today and show them what and why Apple stands for, which is awesome. And it's just cool to see they celebrate creativity and taking Apple to where they were before. Not that they were bad before, but he went from there to creating Apple, like the iPhone, the iPod, the iTunes, like all that stuff all came from the brainchild leadership of Jobs, which is amazing. Last but not least is Milton Hershey. So I didn't know this either, but Milton Hershey, everyone I hope knows Hershey's chocolates. Also did not know this, but he founded and started 3 different candy companies, and then all of them failed. So I'm going to read this real fast because this is very interesting. Because I want you to think about you in your own life and what you've dealt with failure. So when Milton Hershey first started his candy production career, he was nobody. He was fired from an apprenticeship with a printer. Hershey started 3 separate candy-related ventures and was forced to watch all of them fail. One last attempt, Hershey's founded the company called Lancaster Caramel Company and saw enormous results. Believing in his vision for milk chocolate for the masses, that was his vision, he eventually founded the Hershey Company and became one of the most well-known names in the industry. So, listening to all these things, I think about myself because I've had failure over failure over failure, and I've had successes too, but I still feel like I have a lot more to give and a lot more to succeed with, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, is to help stretch myself. But I want you to think about with you, like, how many times have you failed with something or you have a vision for something, it just hasn't worked out? I could go on and on and on about sports people. Like I talked about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson before. I mean, he was, obviously a famous wrestler and then became an actor, even though he was ridiculed in both industries. I don't know if anyone knows that, but he was definitely ridiculed. But he's come back to be in a major force. Michael Jordan's another one. He didn't make his high school basketball team. Einstein's another one where someone said he was stupid and wouldn't ever be a success. Mark Twain was also doubted. I mean, all these great, amazing people are ones who have been doubted at one point and became successes. So if you ever feel like that you're failed too many times or you aren't able to succeed in the way you want, think about the people like in these stories that have succeeded over and over. Like Ariana Huffington got rejected by 36 publishers. I can't believe that she even submitted something 36 times. I mean, that just shows guts. I don't know if I would, honestly. I think I might go 5 at the max. I'd probably go, okay, I'm done. But she did it 36 times and eventually said, heck with this, I'm doing my own thing, and now she's doing awesome. It's just so cool to read stuff like that. Keep going. That's what I'm going to tell you, is that no matter what your venture is, whatever you're doing, don't give up. Keep pushing. Look for different areas and different ways around it. You will have the success you want to have if you're consistent and keep at it. I heard a quote once that said that even the strongest rock is dissolved and gives way to the smallest amount of water if it's consistent and it keeps going. And then in that quote, it shows a picture of the Grand Canyon. Be consistent. Do one thing at a time every single day, like listening to this podcast. And hopefully one day you'll get on my show with me and you'll be able to tell me, you know what? A year ago I had this thing happen and now I'm awesome. Which of course you're awesome now, but I just want you to know that things do happen. Things do change. Things don't stay the way they are all the time. You can progress and become better and more and succeed. I believe in you. This is Jonathan Mitchell. This is Unleash Greatness. Have a wonderful day.